what would you do if you had no filter, no spring, no clean river water, but a lake to drink out of? And you're in a survival situation, or you're just on a hike and maybe your family member or you ran out of water and everyone's thirsty. So what can you do in this context or in this situation? So when I was taught this information, it was when I was at Teaching Drum and we were transitioning to lake water to drink. So again, this is very particular, and maybe we can just start of why people have fears around that.
Yeah, let's demystify the water fear. So I'll regurgitate some of the programming we received. Beaver fever, giardia,
dirt,
spirochetes, debris, fish poop, toxic runoff from industrial whatever. Those are just some of the things I think that would scare someone off from just getting on all fours and drinking out of a lake. So elaborate on that.
What did I do? What did we do? What were we taught? So when we are transitioning to wild water, something like a lake in particular, we are transitioning slowly and we're allowing the body to adapt from this new input. So it's almost, like a homeopathic remedy. We're giving small doses so the body can shift gradually than just going to the water and chugging right away. So in my context, we had a lot of time to adapt. So we expanded the time that we took to adapt our bodies. So an option to start is you just go to the water and you literally take one gulp. That's it. Then you wait. You give yourself an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, maybe the morning, and you notice your body. If you get sick from that one gulp, you don't continue this, or you find another source or something. There's a lot of other ways that you can find water in a landscape, but that will be for another time. But you would take one gulp and then you check in with your body. Just say after 2 to 3 hours, you're fine. You can take 2 gulps. Again, check in. This is very simple. Again, we're checking in, 2 to 3 hours go by and everything's fine, 3 gulps, and you slowly increase your gulps. And that's pretty much what you do. And it's so simple. It is so simple, but you will be drinking. Wild water is far more than just water. How I was taught, you will be drinking like small invertebrates, you'll be drinking algae.
Yeah.
But these are nutrients. This is our food, and the perception that was given to me was that this water is not just water, but it's a food source for you. And I know it's strange to wrap your mind around, but I did it and I was fine. We were a group of 10 people all drinking from the same source, and we were all fine. So again, just going back to the context. So if you really needed to drink more water faster, you could, in that transition, boil water. So again, you would need a small pot, and there would be some things that you need fire to boil that, or if you had a jet boil, you could boil some of that water in between that transition. But ideally, you're working towards only drinking from a wild water source, like a lake in this situation.
What do you say to the people maybe that are too in their head? Because we've seen it before hosting retreats, is we give someone a very potentially clean water source, but they're so in their psyche and their neurosis takes over to, I might suggest someone sip from the lake and go hiking or chop wood or do something so that they're not sitting there fixating, like just waiting for their stomach to start gurgling and make, I think we've all been there where, someone might vomit or get sick and then all of a sudden we're sick and we want to vomit because we're psychologically in our head and this thing is triggering us. So I think, what do you have to say to the people maybe who are very not able to be manipulated but easily swayed by their thoughts and their fears?
Well, in our experience, most people who are coming in with that framework of mindset, they are most likely drinking tap water. So we first of all, we go there and we say, well, what kind of water are you drinking right now? What water are you bathing with, cooking with? And we'll educate them on everything that's in that water.
And they likely never read the comprehensive annual water analysis that every municipality makes. So if they're not taking the first step to see what is tested in their water, often they'll be like, oh, have you had that tested, or do you know it's safe? When the rebuttal would be, well, do you know your water is safe? Have you checked to see the test? Which 99% of people I've spoken to have never even known there's a comprehensive water analysis for each city annually, let alone read it to see what's in their water and what's allowed.
So generally that will wake people up to realizing that there's more, and that they're just literally that's the culture. They're not thinking, and they've accepted that. And now that it's, you know, a little bit edgier in wild water, now there's all these questions, but those same questions could be applied to the water that comes out of your tap. And then the last piece, definitely what you touched on, is that you can create symptoms for sure if you're obsessing, and if you're that scared, then don't do it. Like, none of this, you know, it has to be from you. You have to be open and willing to receive it. If you're completely terrified to do this, then don't do it. You're not ready. And I would say educate yourself more on water sources, how water gets filtrated through. You can educate yourself on waterborne diseases or pathogens, so you can understand if they're not present. But again, that has to come from you if you're living in that much fear around drinking wild water. And I would also catch stories from people who have done it, or find cleaner sources to start. Like I said, we were talking here about a lake, but if you're out and you see
a mountain stream, for example,
start there. That's a lot, let's say, cleaner than the lake. So you can play around with spring water or mountain rivers, or, you know, these
glacial melt, and you know, pick your theme. And I would say we've had it in the past with participants where we've run through a simple charcoal filter, and the feelings they thought they had from drinking water dissipated, even though all we've really done is kind of separate minerals and small you know, filth and detritus out of the water, where we haven't really rid the water of any possible pathogens per se that could be making them sick, but just the act of, oh, now it's been filtered, I'm okay. So it's very easy to psychosomatically knock yourself off of your norm. And I would say, if you're the person who gives into that fear, you're gonna have a tougher time getting over it than someone who's just laissez-faire and just trying it. Because I've done it in the past where that wasn't even in my mind, and I seen this, what I thought in my head was this incredible stream. Little did I know, you know, it wasn't probably the best, but I never got sick. I just went and I was just grabbing handfuls and putting my face in it, and nothing ever happened, even though it probably wasn't the cleanest stream ever.
And I would also add, I'm also not gonna drink, if I go to a water source, just say I'm in farmland and there's a bunch of cow shit all around this source, I would probably not drink that, you know? I would just walk by, find somewhere else. So it's not like we're just drinking from, you know, if we know that this lake is right beside this, I don't know,
a farm or a highway or whatever,
like an industrial facility or something like that. We're not saying don't be mindful of those things, but it's just one piece of a larger context, and that you have to have the awareness, you have to have the knowledge to make those decisions for yourself.
Yeah, humanity didn't make it this far. We didn't reach a population this size if every water source was threatening our health. You know, if we go with the number 8 billion that they're saying we're almost nearing on this planet, it'd be kind of silly to assume that everyone's dying from water, or these people aren't healthy enough to procreate, because obviously we keep procreating and the population rate is growing, so it's still rising despite all the fear about water and germs and all the things that you could worry about in your day-to-day life.
And here's a nice thought. What if the deer are drinking from that source? What if all these other creatures, of course there's differences between us and the deer, but do you think that that deer is going to drink from a water source that would kill that deer? That deer doesn't have access to filters, or, you know, they might be finding springs as well. So this is a reason why we love tracking as well. So again, shifting your mind, seeing all the connection in the forest. I would argue if a deer is drinking from that water source, it is most likely, of course there's always the exception, that that source is clean.
And I would say the animals know better the natural elements to look out for that would be toxic. And I would say the pervasive, I would say camouflage chemicals of man is what we are all, just not humans, but the earth, we're not prepared to combat that. We're not adapted for that. So that being said, yes, you know, the deer could drink from a poisoned water hole, but the fact is the deer knows how to sense the natural things to avoid. The deer, the humans, we can't sense the man-made substances put into places. So, you know, keep that in mind. Everything comes with a caveat. So.
And I would probably say the deer is also transitioning in a very similar way that we started the video with. The deer's probably not going to a new source and just chugging it, especially if it has any instinct that there is something harmful in that water. So what would the deer do? Most likely take it one sip, see what happens to the deer's body, and then continue on. So hopefully there was something new in that video.
Yeah, get out there somewhere clear and clean, away from too much human traffic and population, and try it. Try a sip and go back home and live the rest of your day, and then go back again and increase that tolerance, or see how you're affected, and build up your callus.
Okay, if all of that was too much for you and you want a place to start, you can drink wild water. If there's any chunks of moss, squeeze the moss and get water from moss. Or even after a rainy day, go and just shake water from, you know, leaves or trees or plants into your mouth. Maybe that's where you start. And that's a fun way to get, you know, wild water as well.
Get out there and try it and let us know.